Ah, 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 ah. Buongiorno a tutti, spero stiate tutti bene. Sono Deborah Bazzi, Product Manager del Dipartimento Food di Prodotti Gianni e volevo darvi il benvenuto a questo webinar che svolgeremo in collaborazione con la nostra azienda rappresentata Aloja Starkelsen. Aloja, che è un nuovo partner di Prodotti Gianni, è uno dei più grandi produttori di amido di patata bio al mondo. Successivamente l'azienda si è specializzata anche nella produzione di farine concentrate bio di fava e pisello marrone, con interessanti funzionalità. La conferenza si svolgerà in lingua inglese ed il relatore sarà Yanis Garanks, che oltre ad essere il Managing Director di Aloja Starkelsen è anche un tecnologo alimentare con vari anni di esperienza sul campo, che vi illustrerà le caratteristiche di questi ingredienti bio e nello specifico i loro vantaggi applicativi anche in prodotti da forno. Se avrete domande durante la conferenza avrete la possibilità di formularle nella sezione Questions and Answer. In alto a destra troverete infatti un'icona con 2 fumetti ed il punto interrogativo. Aprendo questa finestra potrete scrivere in privato domande al relatore, anche in forma anonima, il quale potrà rispondervi poi privatamente o pubblicamente. Alla fine del seminario vi inoltreremo poi la presentazione e il video del webinar. Quest'ultimo sarà comunque scaricabile al termine del webinar anche direttamente dal link che avrete usato per partecipare alla riunione. Per chi fosse interessato a approfondire qualche argomento, è possibile organizzare successivamente una videochiamata individuale con il fornitore. Mi fa piacere inoltre poter dire che Prodotti Gianni continua ad essere aperta e al vostro servizio per fornire il maggior supporto possibile. Buon seminario a tutti, vi lascio a Yanis. Please, Lenis, we are ready, you can start.
Yeah, good morning. So my name is Giannis Garanch. I'm a food technologist by education. Have a master's degree in food chemistry. I'm working in Latvia in a company, Aloja Starkelsen, which is organic ingredient production site. So we have more than 200 farmers who is growing for us different crops like potatoes and peas and beans. And we are a processing company to produce ingredients for the organic food industry. And our focus is on functional ingredients. It means technically functionality. And this is an aim for our presentation to show you how you can improve your products and make it more useful for your customers and consumers to make it more better. So today I will speak about the advantage of potato starch in different bakery applications and how it could improve your products. Then I explain what it is brown peas and how products and flours and concentrates from legumes could improve your products. And then we could discuss some applications and some inspiration recipe. Okay, let's start. So potato starch is fully natural product. So production starts from potato. And we are washing them, rasping, and separating out pulp and the fruit juice and potato juice, and we get a clean potato starch, which is not anyhow chemically or otherhow treated. So it's just a mechanical process that you can repeat in your own kitchen. And the final process is drying. So after drying, potato starch still get roughly 20% moisture because that is unique for potato starch as it have a very high moisture absorbing properties. But the product is stable for several years shelf life. And potato starch in a bakery have quite unique properties if you compare with other starches or other flours. For example, the main difference is that potato starch granules is starting to swell already at 57 degrees and reach a maximum at 75. So it means that potato starch is already creating a viscosity during a baking process. It means that a dough during a baking process gets some viscosity and keeps a volume. So dough is not liquid during a baking process, so it gives more structure for a dough during a baking. It means that when it's rising and gets a volume, so you can keep this volume higher without other improvers. So basically, it's the same what eggs is doing in bakery recipes. So the potato starch, in that respect, can replace eggs. Yep. So and potato starch viscosity is very high. So it's several times higher viscosity than for a wheat starch or rice starch or other starches that you can use in a bakery. Yep. The potato starch, when it's afterwards during the baking, of course, viscosity goes down. It's dissolving, and you can also do it in a separate process, just in a water dissolve starch, and you could get a very strong food glue. So if you need to stick some spices or seeds on the surface of your baked products, you can use glue from a potato starch because it's quite easy to prepare, and by that you can decrease the loss of seeds and spice or some other particles that you would like to stick on surface of your baked product, and you could reduce production costs. After baking, and when you cool down your product, the potato starch retrogradates and creates some invisible film on all surfaces, inside surface and also outside. And after cooling down, potato starch prevent moisture migration outside in and inside out. So, but it means that if you bake a product with a crispy crust and a soft inner, so the potato starch helps to keep a crust crispy. So if it is a cookies, then a whole product stays crispy. So you can, if you replace some 10% of wheat flour with potato starch in a cookies, you can manage that the cookies stays crispy even in open package on a table for several days and not become soft. Same effect is also used in ice cream waffle cones, where you could, by adding potato starch, you can reduce the moisture migration from ice cream to waffle, and waffle stays crispier for a longer time. In our range, we have also organic pre-gel starch, so it's cold swelling starch. And it's again just a mechanical process. So we are swelling and drying starch at the same time on a hot drum dryer. The drawing you can see, and by that process, we make native potato starch possible that it's swelling in already in a room temperature. So if you need to adjust the viscosity of a dough, it's especially in a gluten-free bakery when you want to add some more water in a recipe, but the dough become too liquid. So, and usually you are using some guar gum or xanthan gum, some hydrocollates to increase the viscosity. But with a cold swelling potato starch, which is not so expensive solution, and gives the same effect. So you can increase the viscosity and adjust the viscosity of a dough for a bakery product with simple ingredient as potato starch. And why potato starch is so unique to compare with others is that chemically it's the same as corn starch or tapioca starch or wheat starch or any other starch. Even in bananas you have a starch or carrots. But potato starch granules by nature is developed much bigger, because potato should keep in water during the winter time. Not only because normally potato starch is energy for a seed to start to grow. But in potato, starch have a second function already in the nature, that it should keep in the water for potato, and the potato not drying out during wintertime, and it's possible to start to grow in the spring. So this natural, already by nature developed property of potato starch to keep in the water, we are using in different applications, not only in bakery, of course, in a lot of other applications like meat applications, vegan or gluten-free developments, and that is quite unique for potato starch. And of course, applications of potato starch is very wide. So you can use it in a fine bakery, in muffins, cakes, or even in breads, because it allows you to prolong a shelf life of your bakery products without any chemical improvers. Of course, potato starch can help you also to manage better texture of a dough. So it's easier to form and yeah. Even in pasta, you can use potato starch to make it more elastic and more stable production process. And dosage is quite different, and we are welcoming you if you have a real project where you would like to use potato starch. You are welcome to contact us, and we can help you with more precise. But some starting dosages you can see here. So to improve a crispiness, we recommend about 10% from a amount of flour. To make a solution for a gluing, you should make a 6% solution in the water. Just to pre-blend the starch in the water and cook it up. The easiest way, of course, is by direct steam injection, because then it's easier to dissolve a starch in just an open kettle. You should be careful not to evaporate too much water, because then the viscosity goes too high. And to make a more soft and tender texture of a dough, it's enough to start with some 3% of a potato starch from a flour. Besides potato starch, we have also developed organic baking powder, which is of course based on two salts, baking soda and natural cream of tartar. But as a functional ingredient is added potato starch. So you have like a single acting, because we are not using pyrophosphates to make a double acting baking powder. So it's a single acting baking powder, but it's a double function, because all those properties what I explained already for potato starch you can find in our baking powder. Just one more slide about this crispiness, because that is quite important, both to keep a crispy product crispy for a longer shelf life, crispier, and soft product to keep soft for at least if you have a fresh bakery, so you can prolong a shelf life at least for 1 day. And potato starch is creating. You can see on the picture here some invisible film in between particles of gluten, or if it is a gluten-free product, then particles of fibers, and it's not, you cannot notice it by taste. So it's organoleptically, so not taste, not color is not changing. It's not visible, but it's preventing water to migrate in a crispy crust and to go out from a soft core of a product. Yes, here's some recipes. So we have developed cookies based on. I will speak later on legume flours. Instead of those, you can also, of course, use wheat flour and some. In this case, 20% of recipe of flours is replaced by potato starch, and that's ensures that those crispy butter cookies you can keep on a table for a week, and they are not to become soft. So it's keeps this crispiness for a much longer time. Yeah. So once again, just to remind the main advantages of potato starch in a bakery. First of all, potato starch is absolutely clean product, so there's no other substance in just the starch. So there's no any allergens. So it's a allergen-free product. Of course, it's also a gluten-free product, as all our factory is a gluten-free, and it's have a low swelling temperature. So that's why it start to act earlier in a baking process. We have excellent this protective film-making properties of potato starch, what you cannot find in any other starch, and you can increase rising effect. It's not so that potato starch is rising a product, but it keeps viscosity during a baking process. So a product which have increase the volume, it's not falling down. So you by that you are increasing rising. And of course, it's as I told, it's reduce moisture migration afterwards after baking. During the baking, of course, the moisture is free to go out because then starch is in a dissolved system. But after cooling down, when it creates a film, so then a product prevents moisture migration. Okay, I already mentioned that we have a new product developments. So besides starch, we are starting to produce also interesting functional ingredients from legumes, and quite unique ingredient what we are using for our ingredient production. Quite unique crop is brown peas, and brown peas probably you never heard before. It's a traditional crop in Latvia today, but it's coming from medieval. And in medieval, it was grown all over Europe. I'm sure even in Italy. But today we can find still some farms in Germany and also in Holland, where they are still growing some brown peas. And in UK, they still remember, because brown peas from Europe disappeared some 150, 200 years ago, and then yellow peas took over. And but it's like a spelt of legumes, of peas. And interesting that just in one country in Europe, in Latvia, you can find those peas still growing. And interesting is that the brown peas have totally different taste profiles than yellow ones. So after cooking, brown peas loses its sharp pea taste. So it means that without the deep processing and deep cleaning of flour, you can get very functional ingredient for a new product development, and that I will explain now. So why we call it the brown peas? Of course, in different languages you can find the different names, because in medieval there was no internet and there was no unified names for a product. So we call it brown because you can see the color is a brown, but in literature you can find those peas called gray peas or field peas or feed peas. In Canada, even a maple peas. So it's different names in different languages, because it's an ancient crop, and it's coming from as I told, in a medieval. But a good thing is that in Latvia we are still growing those peas and developing new varieties, and it's grown on a big scale, so it's available ingredient. If you would like, it's no problem. There's several hundred tons of flour from brown peas are available. The processing starts with dehulling, so we are unfortunately losing this nice brown color, and then we are precisely milling, so you can see separated pea starch and pea protein globules. So with precise airflow, without any water, without any wet separation, with just a dry separation, we can separate more starchy flour and more higher protein flour. And that means that the product what we are providing is totally untreated. So it's native protein. So protein is not denatured at all, because if you make more purified products, then you need to use wet separation, and then to separate out the protein from a water phase, you are adding some acid, make a heat treatment, and basically you are denaturing the proteins. And in comparison, you can compare that, then you can get the boiled eggs. In our case, you get the fresh eggs. So if you want to make a nutritious drink, then probably you would prefer a boiled eggs. But if you want to bake a cake or sponge cake or muffin, or make some breads, you would like to use the fresh eggs, not the boiled ones. And that is what we are providing here. Besides the peas, we are also in the same way, precisely the same. We are also processing fava beans, and you can have a little bit higher protein content from a fava beans, but functionality, emulsifying properties, and technical functionality from a piece is much better. So today we have 4 different products. 2 is based on a brown peas with a higher protein content on 50% level, and with a lower protein content on 20%, which is still quite high. And also same 2 products from fava beans. In fava beans, as I told, it's a little bit higher protein content, but in a high protein, but same 20% in a lower protein content flour. The rest ingredients, it's quite high percentage of fibers, and those are nutritious fibers. So it's not from a hull, but from a core of peas, and it works as a stabilizer in your recipes. And also you have some starch, so which is working as creating a viscosity and a body of a product. So basically you have a complete mix with a higher protein or lower protein, and you can get a complete mix for gluten-free mix for your bakery, or I will explain also, it works as egg replacement or milk powder replacement in recipes. Yeah, and the most important, of course, is functionality of our proteins, because as I told you, it's native protein, so it's not denatured at all, and it means that it's have a full functionality. So first of all, and most important functionality from a pea protein is emulsifying property, because if you just compare oil in water emulsion with our pea protein concentrate and whole egg powder, its emulsifying property is 1:1. So basically, if you are replacing egg powder, you can replace it with our 50% protein concentrate 1:1. So it's possible to use it in different applications. In bakery, putting directly in a dough, and after baking, it's creates this volume and emulsion stability. If you would like to replace fresh eggs, then we recommend to first of all to develop a solution of our pea protein concentrate. So you add 20-25% of pea protein concentrate in the water, heat it up to 50-60% Celsius degrees to activate a protein. So it works, and then it works very similar as a whole egg, like a fresh egg, liquid egg. So it's and then this solution you are adding in a dough instead of eggs, and get first of all viscosity, volume, and afterwards also emulsifying property of your product. The pea protein is also very good on as a foaming agent. So you can make it some desserts or cookies or marshmallows based on pea protein. So idea is the same. So first of all, you are making a water solution, disperse pea protein concentrate in the water, heat it up, and then you, by whipping, you can create a very strong and stable foam. It could be used not only in, of course, in a fine bakery. You can make even the vegan ice cream based on that, or chocolate mousse. And last but not least, functionality of pea protein, of course, is texturizer. It's not giving a very tough and chewable texture as it's from a soy protein, but it gives a smooth and you can get even a spreadable texture. So it's if you want to make a feeling of your baked product, like a cheese feeling for your cake or breads, so then you can develop a vegan solution for that. Yeah. Of course, always people ask about the taste, because a lot of people have tried pea flours and pea proteins, and most critical is the taste. But as I told you in the very beginning, excuse me, we are using not a yellow peas, but a brown peas. And brown peas have totally different taste profile after cooking, after baking. If you will try a raw product as a flour, it's tastes same strong pea taste, but after baking or cooking or making a heat treatment, so you have to have at least 5-6 minutes at 95 degrees Celsius, and in bakery it's not a problem, I guess. You can get more sweet and more nutty taste, and brown peas don't have this sharp pea taste after cooking. So it's possible to develop a lot of different applications based on brown peas. We are also developing extruded product, which is ready to eat product. So if you would like, it's possible also to present you some new solutions. But still, of course, besides functionality, our protein is also nutritionist value of a protein. So it's have a very good composition of amino acids, which corresponds to FAO recommendations. Later on, you will receive this presentation, so you could see this table more deeper. If we speak about the flours with a lower protein, it's still quite high. It's 20% protein content. It's higher than in a wheat flour. Even a durum wheat don't have so high protein content. But interesting is that you can produce very nice textured extruded snacks and pellets, and also use it in a bakery, because with such a high 20% protein content, you will not develop a hard texture, because the protein, in our case, protein is not activated. It's in a small globules, and it's not creating this very hard and stony texture, which is difficult to chew. So you can after extrusion, you get very soft and crunchy, crispy texture, which is easy to eat, and still you have a quite high protein content. And as ingredient, it's you can make a organic gluten-free vegan product just with single ingredient, pea flour, and develop a very wide range of different snacks, or even you can produce gluten-free pasta with high protein content without adding some eggs or other protein ingredients, because here you can get both functionality and also base of a product from pea flour. Yep. Interesting also that if you are using our pea flour in a bakery, in a breads or in a muffins or sponge cakes, especially in the breads, you can use standard bread yeast, a dry yeast, because as protein is native in our flour, so a yeast is working. So you have a fermentation process. At the beginning, it's a little bit slower than with a wheat flour, but it works very well. Final texture of a bread you can see on a picture. It's not so soft and tender as from a wheat, but it's very similar as a rye or barley bread. And with a standard bread recipe and standard bread baking process, you can make a gluten-free product. Here you can see also it's added organic potato starch called swelling, a little dosage to ensure that you can add in more water, that it hydrates all other ingredients and makes it the dough texture more viscous, so you can form a nice structure of your bread without the gluten. One option why we are producing both peas and fava beans is that the combination of both together gives a very interesting synergy, because brown peas, of course, they have much better taste than yellow ones, but still it's peas and have some notes of peas, and fava beans also have a taste of fava beans. And if you would like to mask each other, it's possible to by combination of both those strong tastes. You can mask if you want to make some crackers or cookies based on peas and you can by combination of both peas and fava bean. You can mask both tastes and get by adding some other spices or flavors, especially brown flavors like chocolate or caramel. It's or nuts, very well masking so the basic taste of peas and fava beans. Of course, legumes have also a very good synergy with cereals. It's again coming from medieval, where people was eating beans and bread together. So, and the main reason here is that it improves nutritional value of a product, because in cereals, it's a deficit in lysine and rich in sulfur amino acids. And the legumes is just opposite. It's rich in lysine and it's low in sulfur amino acids. So by combination, peas and cereals like wheat or barley, you can get much more valuable your final product for consumers. So if again, like a summary, so there's in a brown pea protein on brown pea flours, we don't have any cereals. Our factory is gluten-free, and there's no milk or any animal origin proteins. So it's vegan products. It's safe. It's 100% controlled origin, because we are not buying our raw materials on open market. We have only contracted farmers who is growing for us. It's organic farmers in Latvia, because in Latvia or in Baltic states, organic farming is very well developed. It's more than 15% of all arable land here is organic certified. It's have excellent functionality. We have a good marketing story behind it, because it's a traditional European crop of brown peas, which is coming from a medieval, and also it's have a great nutritional properties, and it's a raw product, so you are very free to develop a lot of new interesting products. Here is some inspiration recipe of organic waffles. It's developed based on fava bean flour, but same nice product you can get also on brown pea flour. Or I would even recommend to try a combination of both together, because then you, as I explained it before, you can mask both flavors and get the more clean waffles, which is vegan product. It's a gluten-free, because also our proteins is replacing eggs, and flour is replacing wheat flour, so you can get very nice product based on our flours. Our company is in European Union, in Latvia. It's our production. We have one production site, and it's fully controlled. We have also a food safety system, BRC. Yeah, several years ago we started, and we have already A++ level for a couple of years. Okay, got some email. So it's maybe it says some questions. Deborah.
Yes, Janice, there is one question. Is it possible to produce gluten-free pasta without the use of emulsifiers?
Yes, but the pasta that you have seen several slides back is produced with a single ingredient. It's only used our 20% protein flour from a brown peas, and you don't need to add any other ingredient, because the combination of proteins, fibers, and starch from a peas gives you a complete mix. It's with a single ingredient you get this complete mix for a gluten-free pasta. It's those tests is done with a traditional Italian pasta machine, so it's a simple traditional process. Only with what should be adjusted is drying process, not to do it too quickly, to keep that the surface is not cracking and it's keeping it shiny, but it's normal adjustment to be a little bit more slower with the drying, and otherwise you don't need, because the proteins gives emulsifying properties, and the starch and the fibers gives structure of a product.
Thank you for the reply. I cannot see any more questions at the moment.
Okay, then thank you very much, and I'm looking for your comments and questions on emails.
Yes, thank you, Janice. Thank you all for participating. And I will forward you the video and the presentation that Janice shared during the webinar. And see you soon. Thank you for attending.
Yeah, thank you.